AITA for growing frustrated with my partner's weight loss? Throw away for reasons. I'm in my mid-30s and have been together with my partner, also in their mid-30s, for many years. My partner's clinically obese, and has been for some time. Just we were both dumb and didn't think much about it till a couple years ago with a scare. Now I've been charged by his medical people close-knit. They all talk to each other about his weight loss program to be his personal trainer. Which I'm fine with, since I live with him. I just remind him to take walks and weigh himself daily. Make sure he doesn't eat anything too terrible. But for a while now, there's been a thing where he refuses to get a larger package of anything from the store that he'll eat too much of. Desserts, snacks, etc. Even if they're intended only for me. I get the logic behind it, but this has been going on for over a year now. Sometimes I just want a specific flavor of ice cream we both like, but he refuses to get it because he's afraid he'll eat AITA. So I blew up at him last night when he asked me what was wrong after a heavy sigh. No harsh, but I, admittedly blunt and frustrated because I'm in spectrum and have a hard time being subtle and controlling tone, told him that I wish we could improve his relationship with food. I suggested he needs to find a way to just measure the stuff he wants to eat, scoops, handfuls, food scale, rather than sitting there eating the whole thing. That he needs to learn He shot back with how restricting what's in the house is how Alcohol Anonymous handles problems, which is true. But I told him straight up that I feel that's different, because unlike alcohol, food is necessary, and while a lot of the stuff I'm frustrated with is luxuries and niceties, I haven't thought a lot of things like ice cream in months just because he'll proclaim he'll eat it all and we never buy it. I just feel frustrated, like he's not approaching the issue in a healthy way, and that restricting ITA's an easy way versus facing the real problem of learning to have a better relationship with food and being mindful of what and how much you eat. I genuinely had no issue with it at first, since he needed to lose weight, but sometimes it really feels like he does the bare minimum and skates on me, even with all my reminding and pushing. Not to discredit what he does do. He weighs himself in the morning, and will take walks with a gentle reminder. I love him, I genuinely do, but I'm growing to bind a spot where I might have to separate myself from him before he suffers medical issues and I lose my mind. So AITA for blowing up at him and immediately critiquing his reasons. Edit. Someone recommended I add that, due to circumstances, I have no access to a vehicle, so shopping by myself isn't really an option. AITA for calling my girlfriend an idiot because she secretly bought my son a skateboard. I, 30M, have a 9-year-old son with my ex-girlfriend, 29F. We split 6 years ago but share custody, 1 week on 1 week off arrangement. I have been in a relationship with my current girlfriend, 27F, for 4 years. She's incredible and gets along with my son amazingly. Last year my son suddenly gained an obsession with skateboarding. He would talk non-stop about it and kept asking if he could get a skateboard. My ex Andy discussed and mutually decided against letting him skateboard because he's still very young and obviously there's always a risk of injury. My son was very upset when we said no, but he eventually got over it. Yesterday afternoon I left the house for an hour to run some errands, and while I was out I got a call from my girlfriend telling me that she had to take my son to the emergency department and to meet her there. He had a dislocated shoulder. I was confused, had no idea what was happening. Immediately drove to the hospital. I asked her how did it happen, and she admitted that she bought him a skateboard 3 months ago and he had a nasty fall while riding it at the skate park she had taken him to while I was out. I was angry, but I didn't want to start an argument in the middle of the hospital, so I gave her the silent treatment until we got back home. I rang up my ex straight away to tell her what happened and I got an earful from her. My girlfriend apologized to my ex when she arrived at the hospital, but she wasn't having any of it. So basically my girlfriend made my son promise her not to say anything about the skateboard to me or his mother, and they've been hiding the skateboard from me for months. I asked my girlfriend why the UCK did she think that would be okay, and she simply said she just wanted to make my son happy, and she argued that she never let him skate alone. She was always with him. Apparently, him to the skate park whenever I was out of the house, which wasn't often, but I don't want him at the skate park ever. I called her a fucking idiot, and that it's her fault that my son got injured. She said I was being *ick and that she didn't mean for it to happen. She was just trying to do something nice. Now we're barely talking to AITA or what? AITA for not wanting my stepmom to adopt me and become my mother? For a little backstory, I'm F17, and my mother passed away when I was 12 from a drunk driver. It was extremely tough on me and my entire family. I was her only child and was very close with her. My dad, 46, got remarried a little over 1 year after my mom's death. It wasn't easy for me except that my dad has to move on. He got married pretty soon into his relationship, which was not easy for me to come to terms with. His wife 35, was one of his former co-workers in She's niece but has been a little pushy for me and her to have a relationship. I definitely didn't like her in the beginning because I was still not done grieving my mother. Her and my dad have 2 kids together, and sometimes when we're in public or in social settings they obviously call her mom, but I call her by her name. She'll say you can call me mom, and I say thank you and don't because she isn't my mom. In the beginning she talked my dad into removing all of my mom's pictures in the house. We didn't, but Harrisking rubbed me the wrong way. We moved from our old house and the only pictures of my mom are in my room now, which I'm okay with. Recently my 17th birthday passed. We had a little party at the house, just the family and my step-grandparents and her sister. After we did dinner and had cake, they all set up a surprise in the living room. My dad and her were sat on the couch and my aunt was recording. The surprise was Harrisking to adopt me and become my mom. I didn't instantly react, but I just started crying. Couldn't control it. I didn't say anything and walked away. Later that night my dad came to talk to me and said I should accept her proposal and merge the family. He told me locking myself in my room and not saying anything to her was rude, and I told him I wasn't accepting BC. I have a mom and don't need her to replace her. I felt it was wrong in my heart and that I've accepted she's my step mom, but I don't have to call her mom or act like I'll ever love her as a mom. The next morning he told me she cried and I need to apologize for how I reacted and reconsider my decision. I spoke with her that day and explained how I didn't want to do it, and she said she's very hurt and that it's rude of me to not accept Harrivan after so many years. I feel like would be like erasing my mom from my life. I know she's not here, but giving my stepmother that title feels wrong. WIBTA if I call for a meeting with my sibling's school administrator, principal regarding her name? I, 21F, have a little sister named Migna, 9F, who is currently in 4th grade. My family and I are first-generation immigrants who moved to the States from South Asia while my sister was born here. Recently she started having some troubles in school regarding her name, and it is kind of bugging me for a while. I named my sister Migna after a beautiful river, Bangladesh, and I realize now that it might be fairly similar to the Western standard of Megan. She is bilingual and loves the original name, but her new teacher has been messing up her name for quite a long time to the point it's frustrating. Since the school year started, she has been writing Megan on papers and I had to correct it and send it back a few times. At first, it was just a little mistake, but as it kept happening I sent her a text politely stating Thatch has been writing the name wrong and it's actually spelled like X. My sister told me last week that the teacher calls her Meg in class, and it led to many other students also calling her Meg and Megs. She told the teacher her name is Migna, but apparently all she did was smile and say I know, but I'm gonna call you Meg for short. I have a distaste for how Americans almost always shorten everyone's name, but to each their own. I asked Migna if she prefers to be called Meg, but she said it feels weird. I feel very uncomfortable with how they are trying to anglicize her name, and I think it should be brought to someone's attention because I feel like I have been patient enough. I also don't want to get the teacher in trouble or cause a bad tension. So AITA for calling my mother a creep for staring at my chest? I, 18F, got my nipples pierced a couple months after I turned 18. It was something that I wanted to do because I was pretty insecure about my chest. Now that I've had them for around 6 months, the piercings have boosted my confidence a lot and made me feel better about myself. My mother, 50F, is the type of person to hate tattoos and piercings even though she has some of her own. I have a few piercings on my face, and she's made it pretty clear she hates them. I thought that at least with my nipple piercings, she wouldn't be able to see them, since I pretty much always wear a bra and or tops made of thick material. I woke up to make myself breakfast this morning. Andy was still wearing my pajamas, so obviously I wasn't wearing a bra. As I was cooking, my mother walked into the kitchen and we were talking. It was a civil conversation until she asked me if I got my nipples pierced. I could tell by the tone of her voice that it was about to hit the fan. I kinda just stared at her for a second and asked her why she was looking at my chest. She said something along the lines of, they were out, which is just fucking gross in my opinion. The material of my pajamas weren't thin, so she would have had to look pretty hard to notice them. I told her that I was just cold, and that it makes me uncomfortable that she looks at my chest. This isn't the first time she's made comments about my asterisk oops. You don't do that to your own kid, it's asterisk ucking nasty. She used the I'm your excuse and told me that only whores get their nipples pierced. I called her a creep and told her that I'm not going to entertain her delusions about my chest. She said that I was being a itch to her and Thatch wasn't stupid. She knows what she saw. She's been in a foul mood for a few hours now, so I've just been keeping my distance. Exactly, own up to having the piercings, but do I really have to? It's an intimate area of my body that I would never ever want to share with anyone but myself and my partner. AmItheAsshole. Edit. I'm reiterating this for people asking about my clothes, telling me to cover up. I was wearing a pajama set, long sleeves and long pants, that were made of a pretty thick material. It wasn't something flimsy and thin like silk. She would have needed to look pretty close to notice anything. Furthermore, I know I shouldn't have insulted her back. It was immature of me. I reacted that way because, again, this isn't the first time she's commented on my body, especially since I'm a bigger-chested woman as well. It genuinely uncomfortable when she makes remarks about my body because I dress modestly as well. Oversized shirts, hoodies, baggy pants, etc. It's not like I'm flaunting my body and asking for people to comment in it.